And good evening and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes, flying solo tonight. My normal co-host, former Newman Catholic High School boys basketball coach Jeff Gress, unavailable because work called. And of course, number one is work calling. So we have to go solo here tonight. But still, we will talk plenty of high school basketball and hockey. In fact, both our guests are right now in the midst of their hockey seasons. Coming up at 6:20, it will be our coach guest this week from the DC Evergreens. We'll be talking to Dan Van Slyke. Evergreens been playing some good hockey recently, winners of 5 of their last 6 games, including a 3-1 win against Thomas Sparta last night. So Dan Van Slyke, our coach guest, coming up at 6:20. And then our student athlete guest for this week coming up at 7 o'clock from the Central Wisconsin Storm and also Wausau West softball, Claire Kalmus. Claire is the goaltender for the Storm, outstanding shortstop for the Wausau West softball team. So we'll talk to Claire Kalmus coming up at 7 o'clock, our student-athlete guest this week on the Big High School Sports Show here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. But first, in this first segment, let's talk a little bit of basketball. Let's talk about boys basketball, where they stand as we get closer and closer to the end of the regular season and heading towards the playoffs. Wisconsin Valley Conference, you got Marshfield, the only undefeated remaining. Marshfield Tigers, 5-0 in the conference, 14-1 overall. Stevens Point, they have lost for the first time this year. Stevens Point, 4-1 in the conference, still an outstanding 15-1 overall. Wausau East is third in the WVC, 5-2 in the league, 13-3 overall. Then Wausau West in fourth place at 4-3 in the conference, 11-5 overall. Wisconsin Rapids is 1-4 in the conference. Red Raiders are 5-10 overall. DC Everest 1-5 in the league, 5-11 overall, and Merrill 0-5 in conference, 4-9 overall. Looking at the past week, starting with the Marshfield Tigers, they continue to be very impressive, not only winning, but winning in big fashion. Last Thursday, Marshfield defeated Wausau West 68-57, a game that we had right here on Bull Falls Radio. Marshfield, that game was not as close as the final score would indicate. Marshfield led 49-13 early in the second half. Wausau West was able to tighten it up with the backups in the game. Brooks Hinson had 21 points, Chris Pohl 16 for Marshfield. Karji Cooper led the way for the Warriors with 19. Then on Friday night, Marshfield back-to-backs, but did not look like they were at all tired as the Tigers rolled past Merrill by a score of 72-33. Brooks Hinson, again, 20 points. Landon Lee and Chris Pohl, 12 points each for Marshfield. E.J. Wykes had 8 for the Merrill Blue Jays. Also, Friday night, big one, Stevens Point lost for the first time this season. The Wausau East Lumberjacks rallied from a halftime deficit, defeated Spash 78-73. Jesse Napgezik, 26 points in that game for the Lumberjacks. Isaac Roswadowski, 19. Carter Combs, 18. Grant Shadana, 17 for Stevens Point. Also Friday, Wisconsin Rapids defeated DC Everest 61-52. There was not much time to lick the wounds for Stevens Point last Saturday because they were right back in action after that loss against East. And they defeated Wisconsin Rapids 75-58. Jaron Seas had 17 points. Baraka McAleen 15. Carter Combs 14. Grant Shadana 13 in a very balanced Stevens Point offensive attack. Also Saturday, almost inexplicably, but perhaps celebrating their big win over Stevens Point on Friday, Wausau East had a road trip. They had a non-conference road trip to Green Bay Preble. And Preble, a team that struggled a bit this season. They're 4-13, but again, those back-to-backs, especially on the road, can be a bit difficult. And the Preble Hornets defeated East by a score of 82-73. And then last night, full slate of activity, both in terms of conference and non-conference games. And what a game over at DC Everest. Evergreens looking to sweep the season series against Wausau East. Everest had the lead at halftime, had the lead for much of the evening, but in the end, Lumberjacks down by 2 with about 4 seconds to go, going the full length of the court, and Jesse Napgezik from about 30 feet away banked it in, turning defeat into victory. massive win for Wausau East in their hopes of getting into the title chase in the WVC. East 73, Everest 72. Heartbreaker for DC Everest and a huge road win for Wausau East. Charlie Cayley had a monster night for the Lumberjacks. 31 points and 13 rebounds. Also last night, Wausau West defeated Merrill by a score of 84-62. Great news for the Warriors. Griffin Lang was back, as Griffin Lang missed a few games, and the Warriors were not the same team without him. He's somebody that makes his teammates better, and Lang came back, hitting 8 of 12 shots, scored 17 points in the game. Brett Butala, 19, Lucas Hager, 60. Both Butala and Hager had struggled a bit without Griffin Lang in the lineup, but with Lang back, Warriors were back looking like they had for much of the season. Good win, 84-62 over the Merrill Blue Jays. Non-conference last night, and a good non-conference win for Stevens Point. They knocked off Wanakee 57-43. Jaron Seas had 18 points. Baraka McCalling had 12 points. Grant Shadana 11 for the Panthers. Marshfield, very impressive. Boy, 3 dominating victories for the Marshfield Tigers this past week. And last night it was a 75-34 non-conference win over Chippewa Falls. Chris Pohl, 24 points. Brooks Hinton, 17 for the Tigers. And also last night, a good non-conference win for Wisconsin Rapids. Knocked off a good Rhinelander team, 74-66. So quite a week in the Wisconsin Valley Conference in boys high school basketball. And probably the highlights were Wausau East with their 2 very important wins in the conference, beating previously undefeated Stevens Point and then pulling that rabbit out of the hat over at DC Everest last night. So East 5-2, Spash 4-1, Marshfield 5-0, and West also there at 4-3 in the conference. Great Northern Conference. You got Mosinee continuing to be very impressive. Mosinee 6-0 in the conference, 14-1 overall. Then you got Rhinelander at 5-1 in the league, 8-6 overall. Medford 4-2 in the conference, 6-8 overall. Lakeland 4-3 in the conference, 8-7 overall. Antigo and Northern Pines both 2-5 in the conference. Red Robins 5-11 overall. Pines 6-11 overall. Then Tomahawk at 0-7 in the conference, 1-13 overall. Mosinee continuing to be very impressive. A couple of good wins in the past week. Last Friday, Mosinee defeated Edgar 72-52. Balanced attack for Mosinee. Landon Tomer had another monster night, both in points and rebounds, especially rebounds. 16 points, 23 boards. Keegan Jersley, 16. Aiden Shaughnessy and Treve Stoffel, 15 points each as well. Again, good balance, good win for Mosinee non-conference, 72-52 over Edgar last Friday. Also Friday night, big conference win for Medford. Medford moved to 4-2 in the conference with their 54-51 win up in Minocqua, beating the Lakeland Thunderbirds. And Rhinelander defeated Antigo in conference play last Friday, 60-45. Monday, it was a dominant performance for Mosinee. 90-48 win over Lakeland. Again, a Lakeland team over 500 in the conference, but boy, Mosinee took them to the woodshed Monday night. Landon Tomer, 30 points, 17 rebounds. Keegan Jersley, 13 points as well for Mosinee. Last night in the conference, Antigo defeated Tomahawk 88-38. Non-conference saw Lakeland beat 3 Lakes 75-56, and Northern Pines over Crandon by a score of 46-44. Merriwood South continues to be quite a battle. You got Marathon 9-0 in the conference, 14-1 overall. Auburndale 9-1 in the conference, 13-2 overall. Edgar, just mentioned their game against Mosinee, but still Edgar, 12-3 overall, 7-2 in the conference. You got Stratford at 6-3 in the conference, 11-4 overall. Assumption 4-5 in the conference, 6-8 overall. And Newman Catholic, they got their first win in conference. They're now 1-6, 2-13 overall. Looking at the action in the Merriwood South from the past week, last Thursday night. Good win for Marathon in Athens, 75-51. Grant Warren, 20 points, 14 rebounds to lead the way for Marathon. You had Auburndale over Rib Lake, 66-57. Good win in that tough Rib Lake gym for the Auburndale Eagles. Evan Scholl, 18 points. Caden Anderson, 17 for the Eagles. As I said, Newman Catholic getting their first conference win, winning in Park Falls, defeating Shawamigan 60-54. Quincy Fender, 17 points. Griffin Pent, 14. Lucas Piffner, 13. Liam McCarty, 12. 4 Newman Catholic players in double figures in that game. You also had Edgar roll past Abbotsford 85-45. Games last Friday involving Merriwood Conference South Division squads. Assumption beat Prentice in a crossover 63-49. It was Stratford getting past Phillips 53-36, and a very good Eau Claire Emmanuel Lutheran squad defeated Newman Catholic by a score of 71-35. And then finally last night, it was a night of Merriwood Conference South Division matchups, and Marathon continues to impress. Good road win, completing a regular season sweep of Stratford. Red Raiders defeated the Stratford Tigers 63-44. Grant Warren, another double-double, tends to do almost every night. Grant Warren, 21 points and 13 rebounds. Drew Brusewitz had 19 points to lead the way for Stratford. Also last night, Auburndale moved to 9-1 in the conference, defeating Newman 75-46. Caden Weinferder, 22. Evan Scholl, 20 for Auburndale. Quincy Fender, again, a good offense performance for Newman, scoring 23 points. So again, Marathon, Auburndale, Edgar, Stratford, all with winning records in the Merriwood South, and Marathon and Auburndale still leading the way, 9-0 and 9-1 respectively in the conference. Merriwood Conference North on the boys' side, you had Rib Lake still in the lead at 6-3. Rib Lake 12-4 overall. Prentice 5-5 in the conference, 9-6 overall. Phillips 4-6 in the conference, 7-7 overall. Abbotsford 2-7 in conference, 3-14 overall. Athens 2-7, 5-9 overall. And Shawamigan 1-8 in the Merriwood North, 3 wins, 11 losses overall. We talked about those crossover games with the Merriwood South already, but interesting game on Friday. Rib Lake, who plays in that little gym at home, they had an opportunity, both their boys and their girls teams on Friday, to go to Minneapolis, play in the Target Center. And Friday, Rib Lake fell at the Target Center 48-45 to a team named Avail Academy. I will admit, don't know much about Avail Academy, but they defeated Rib Lake Friday 48-45 again at the Target Center in Minneapolis. Also in the Merriwood North, on Friday, it was Loyal defeating Abbotsford. Abbotsford lost that non-conference game 65-36. Rib Lake over Spencer 92-53. Last night, it was Rib Lake defeating Athens 56-31. Shawamigan over Phillips 62-60. Prentice gets past Abbotsford 58-52. CWC East. You got Bondwell continuing to lead the way. Bondwell having themselves quite a year, both in boys and girls basketball. Bondwell Bears 8-0 atop the CWC East. You got them at 13-1 overall. Shiocton and Wyowega Fremont, both 6-2 in the conference. Shiocton 9-6 overall. Wyowega Fremont 8-7 overall. Then you got Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, 4-4 in the conference. Whitburn is 6-7 overall. Manawa and Iola Scandinavia, both 3-5 in the conference. Manawa 9-7 overall. Iola 5-8. Then Menominee Indian and Amherst at 1-7. Menominee Indian 2-12 overall. Amherst is 6-10. Conference games were played in the CWC East on Friday. Bondwell staying undefeated, winning at Wittenberg-Burnhamwood 63-40. So a good road win for Bondwell. Shiocton knocked off Amherst by a score of 56-46. You had Wyowega Fremont over Manawa by a score of 76-51. So that's a look at what has been going on. Looking ahead, some of the bigger games coming up in high school boys basketball over the next week. You got in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. The biggest of these games will be on Monday. It is a makeup game as the Marshfield Tigers and the Stevens Point Panthers will meet for the first of 2 times the rest of the regular season. As I said, Marshfield 5-0 in the conference. Stevens Point is 4-1. So that's a big one coming up on Monday evening. Earlier, tomorrow night, there's one game in the Valley. Wausau East is at Merrill. Blue Jays looking to get back on the winning track, and Wausau East looking to continue their opportunities to battle against Marshfield and Stevens Point for a conference championship. Also coming up in the next week, next Tuesday night, Marshfield at Wisconsin Rapids. That Wisconsin Rapids team has been performing fairly well. New head coach, kind of a little bit under the radar, but I do think that that win last night against Rhinelander, and they've battled. And it'll be interesting to see in the second half of the conference season how Wisconsin Rapids fares, and they will have the Marshfield Tigers coming to their home court on Tuesday. Some non-conference interesting games on Tuesday. DC Everest at Mosinee. Mosinee, as I said, 14-1. They'll take on the Evergreens on Tuesday. Another GNC versus WVC matchup on Tuesday. Medford against Wausau West. And Merrill, likewise, at Antigo Valley versus the GNC. Mentioning the GNC, Mosinee will have that always interesting road test on Friday when they travel to Medford to take on the Medford Raiders. Mosinee right now looking like head and shoulders at this point at the top of that great Northern Conference. Antigo is at Lakeland on Friday. Rhinelander at Northern Pines as well in conference play. Those are the only conference matchups in the GNC over the next week. Merriwood Conference South Division. You got Assumption at Stratford Thursday. Edgar at Marathon, always an interesting matchup, and especially this year with both those schools doing very well. As I said, Marathon 9-0 in the conference, 14-1 overall. Edgar 7-2 in the conference, 12-3 overall. So that should be a big crowd at Marathon coming up on Friday night when the Edgar Wildcats make the short trek down the road to meet the Red Raiders. Tuesday night of next week, Marathon is at Newman. That's a game that we'll have live for you next Tuesday night right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Auburndale travels to Assumption and Stratford at Edgar. Another interesting matchup in the conference. Merriwood Conference North, as we said, Rib Lake right now in the lead in that conference at 6-3. Prentice 5-5. Phillips 4-6. Rib Lake has a road game on Friday, non-conference at Tomahawk, and then next Tuesday, conference game for Rib Lake on the road at Abbotsford. Prentice, meantime, will be having a conference game next Tuesday against Shawamigan. CWC East, Shyocton and Wyowega Fremont on Thursday. Also Manawa and Nominee Indian. And Bonduel will look to stay undefeated in the conference when they travel to Amherst. On Friday, Iola Scandinavia at Wittenberg-Burnhamwood. An interesting non-conference game. Bonduel has their conference game on Thursday, and then they have a very tough non-conference game. And a really, I think, good piece of scheduling by Bonduel, taking on Kewanee. Kewanee, outstanding non-conference opponents for Bonduel. And another good non-conference game will be played by Wyowega Fremont. Wyowega Fremont will be traveling on Saturday to Randolph. And Wyowega Fremont, 4-4 in the conference, 8-7 overall. So, again, you like, I think, teams that hope to make a bit of a run when it comes to playoff time to have these kind of non-conference games, I think, very, very impressive as well. And Wittenberg-Burnhamwood is very busy over these couple of weeks, over the next week, I should say, as Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, as I said, play on Friday against Iola Scandinavia. On Monday, they host Northern Pines. And then on Tuesday, they will travel to Menominee Indian. Also in the CWC East coming up on Tuesday, Wyowega Fremont at Bonduel. Shyocton is at Manawa. Amherst is at Iola Scandinavia. So that's a look at boys basketball right now. And again, unfortunately, don't have Jeff Gress here to continue to add his point of view, but Jeff will be back next week. So this week we get an opportunity to talk a little bit more hockey than we normally do. And both our guests will be from the hockey realm this week. Coming up at 7 o'clock, our student-athlete guest from the Central Wisconsin Storm, but also an outstanding softball player, Claire Kalmus from Wausau West High School and the Storm. So we'll have Claire Kalmus coming up at 7 o'clock. And coming up next, we'll have our coach guest for this week from the DC Everest Evergreens, head coach Dan Van Slyke. So we'll be talking to Coach Van Slyke coming up as we continue on this Wednesday evening. The Big High School Sports Show, Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 to 12:30. Parents of class of 2024 seniors, graduation is a few months away. Do you know where your photos are? Melissa Sullivan of Picks and Pieces Photo and Digital Organizing can help. Mel is a professionally trained photo manager who can convert printed photos and outdated media to digital formats, consolidate and organize your digital photo collection, and create custom photo books, gifts, and slideshows. Preserve, organize, and share your priceless family memories today. Call Mel at 715-446-0762 or visit picksandpieces.com today to learn more. Again, that's PIX, the letter N, pieces.com.
Hungry for flavor-packed fun?
Dive into Red Robin's sizzling burgers, mouth-watering fries, and endless options.
Or maybe you're craving the perfect slice.
Then it's Donato's Pizza, your passport to pizza perfection.
Order now and treat yourself to an unforgettable taste experience.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza, 225548 Rib Mountain Drive in Wausau.
Call 715-301-0019 or log on redrobin.com.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though.
What's going on?
He's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team. And ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
What's your idea of winter fun? If it's hitting the trails after a fresh snowfall and you're thinking new snowmobile, it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union, the leader in financing fun. If you're thinking new four-wheel drive vehicle to get you to the downhill slopes or the cross-country trails, it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union, the leader in financing fun. Quick, easy loan applications, friendly lenders, and great rates make CCU the lending leader in financing fun. If your idea of winter fun isn't in the snow, maybe hitting the highway in a new motorhome is the way to go. Just give CCU a call. Financing for motorhomes and winter getaways. When you think fun, think Clover Belt Credit Union. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Call CCU for your great rate financing. Dial 715-842-5693 or apply online or from your smartphone. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes, again playing solo tonight because my normal co-host, Jeff Gress, work calls. And again, work comes first. Always appreciate the time that my co-hosts give to the program. But Jeff will be back next week. And expecting our coach guest any time now, Dan Van Slyke from the DC Everest Evergreens. And when I contacted the coach, said practice ended a little bit before 6. So obviously maybe running a little bit late. And whenever the coach does get here, we'll put him behind the mic and begin our conversation. So again, whenever Coach Van Slyke gets here, we'll make sure to get him on the air ASAP. And again, don't forget, coming up at 7 o'clock will be our student-athlete guest. We'll be joined by Claire Kalmus from the Central Wisconsin Storm and Wausau West Softball. Again, that's at 7 o'clock. Claire Kalmus joining us here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. But while we wait for Coach Van Slyke, let's talk a little bit of hockey about what's going on, because coming up tomorrow night, right here on Bull Falls Radio, we have ourselves a massive game in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, as Stevens Point will travel to Wausau West. As right now, those are the top two teams in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. Stevens Point, in fact, is the number one ranked team in the state. Stevens Point has not lost a game all season long. Their only, we called it a blemish, was a 2-2 tie back in their second game of the season against defending state champion Notre Dame Academy. And Stevens Point has run the table so far in the WVC with an 8-0 record. And Wausau West is in second place, and the Warriors still have a chance in the WVC because the Warriors are 6-1 in the conference. Wausau West is 10-9 overall, but 6-1 in the conference. So a win over Stevens Point tomorrow night would give Wausau West a tie in the loss column in the conference. And Stevens Point will have one game remaining in the conference after tomorrow night, while Wausau West will have two games remaining in the conference after tomorrow evening. So we will have the game live for you tomorrow night, 6:50 for the pregame show, 7 o'clock for the opening faceoff. Wausau West and Stevens Point live right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. BullFallsRadio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And looking at that matchup, you look at Stevens Point, got some big offensive numbers. And you look at Jackson Schrader, number one, 16 games played, 24 goals, 24 assists, 48 points. And not just Schrader, Grady Miller, 46 points. He has 33 assists to lead their team, to go along with 13 goals. Grant Molsky, 35 points, 19 goals, 16 assists. The goaltender, Mason Sperlin, has put up gaudy numbers as well, winning 12, losing 0, tying 1. Goals against average of 1.22, save percentage way up there at .947, and 4 shutouts. So whether it's putting the puck in the back of the net or keeping the puck out, Stevens Point has done the job en route to 15 wins, no losses, and 1 tie so far this season. And Stevens Point had a tough non-conference game last night against Nina Hortonville Menasha. And that's been a solid program from the eastern part of the state for a number of years now. And Stevens Point was able to get past Nina Hortonville Menasha by a score of 1-0. So that will set up tomorrow night. And for Wausau West, it's been an up and down season for the Warriors. In fact, they kind of got into a funk until about a couple of weeks ago. Wausau West had a 4-game losing streak from late December into early January. Were shut out back-to-back games against Middleton and Hudson, but they have found their footing again. Victories last week over Eau Claire North and Marshfield, and then on Monday night, great game. Hope you were with us here on Bull Falls Radio. Wisconsin Rapids scored a goal in the first period, took a 1-0 lead. And it looked like for a long while, that might hold up. And it was a real surprise because going into it, expected maybe a bit of a higher scoring game. And it stayed 1-0 until late in the third when the Warriors were able to get an Aiden Abuzahab goal to tie it up. Great play by Ray Reineck to set it up. And then in overtime, and it was one of those situations where no shot is a bad shot. It was a terrible angle in the deep right wing corner, and Brody Brimacombe just threw it at the net. It somehow squirted through the goaltender, ended up maybe an inch and a half over the goal line completely, just barely over the goal line, and that gave the Warriors a big 2-1 overtime win over Wisconsin Rapids. And the thing was, the Warriors needed to win that game. They could not afford to let it go through the extra sessions and to end in a tie, because a tie really would have gave the conference to Stevens Point. Now, 1 loss, 0 ties for West. 0 losses, 0 ties for Stevens Point, and a win on Thursday for West, and then winning out. And Stevens Point wins after tomorrow. They would be a tie. Both teams, the first meeting between West and Stevens Point was at the KB Willett Ice Arena back on December 14th. Spash jumped out to an early lead and then beat the Warriors 5-2. So again, the Warriors will have the home ice advantage. Expect a terrific crowd. Expect a great atmosphere coming up on Thursday night. And again, if you're not at Marathon Park for the game, you can join us on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 6:50 and the opening face-off at 7 o'clock. Looking at the rest of the Wisconsin Valley Conference, you got Wisconsin Rapids at 5-4 in third place in the league, and all four of their losses have occurred to the top two teams, and they played very well. The two games that I did when they faced Wausau West, the first time around, Wisconsin Rapids peppered West with 45 shots on net, but could not get more than one across and lost 3-1. And then, of course, on Monday, down to the final couple of minutes of regulation before they finally gave up a goal and then lost on a very tough overtime tally. So Rapids still very solid, having a very good year, but that loss to West, in addition to taking away any chance of them getting into second place in the conference, in all likelihood means that they will be behind Wausau West when the playoff sectional seedings are announced, because West with that sweep, even though their overall record is worse than Wisconsin Rapids by a significant amount, the conference record is better and the head-to-head record is better. So that puts Wausau West in a very good position when it comes to staying above Wisconsin Rapids in the Sectional 1 Division 1 seedings when they come out very, very soon. DC Everest, 2-5 in the conference, 9-11 overall. And again, for DC Everest, it's been a good bounce back for the Evergreens. They started their December was rough. They had played 3 games in November, had a 2-1 record, but then in December it turned into a long slog for the Evergreens. In fact, in the month of December they went 2-9. So a 2-9 mark in December, but now in January, DC Everest has been able to bounce back, winning 5 of 6 games, including last night, a 3-1 win at Thomas Sparta, a game where the Evergreens were outshot by a significant margin, but goaltending. And goaltending is the wild card, especially as you get into the playoffs, because you can be a team that gets outshot by a major amount and still find a way to win if you have a goaltender on top of his game. And DC Everest has themselves a very good young goaltender in Griffin Bonnell. Only a sophomore. He had another big night with more than 30 saves in that win over Thomas Sparta. He's had some massive shot numbers. Lots. The game against Wisconsin Rapids recently, just last Thursday, in fact, 6 days ago, Rapids for the second time this season defeated DC Everest in overtime. This time again by the score of 4-3. The first time around it was 4-3 as well. Both those games, seeing well over 50 shots on net, was Griffin Bonnell, but yet he's been able to keep his team in the games. And when you get to a one and done situation, you can frustrate an opponent that puts up 30, 40, 50 shots if that goaltender's on top of his game. So that is something that DC Everest will be a bit of a wild card in terms. I don't know if you'd want to face a goaltender that has that capability or in the early rounds if you're a high seed. So DC Everest, 2-5 in fourth place. Marshfield is 1-6 in the conference, and East Merrill United is 1-7 in the conference. EMU's had a bit of a rough go of it this season, but in the past week, they darn near had a 2-game winning streak, because on the weekend, on Saturday, the Blue Jacks defeated Rhinelander by a score of 6-5 in overtime. That was Saturday at the Mark. And then last night, they were back at the Mark, looking for 2 in a row. They had a 5-3 lead in the third period over Pacelli. Pacelli would rally, score twice, including the game-tying goal with just over 90 seconds to go. And then Pacelli would win it in overtime, 6-5. So a bit of a heartbreaker last night for EMU as they tried to build up that program. And, of course, very interesting in the Great Northern Conference as well. We're going to talk more about the GNC a bit later on in the show, but you got a Mosinee team that made it to the Division II state tournament a year ago, and I thought coming into the season, despite some losses, of course, to graduation, that we would see Mosinee perhaps at the top of that conference. Not quite this year. You got teams like Tomahawk and Lakeland, really the cream of the crop right now. And even Wapaka, much improved team in the Great Northern Conference. So, again, we will have more on hockey, more on the GNC coming up in just a bit. Hopefully, again, that our scheduled coach guest, Dan Van Slyke of the DC Everest Evergreens, will be joining us at some point here in the very near future. And, of course, girls hockey. And I had a chance again to see the Central Wisconsin Storm on Saturday. And the Storm, the times I have seen the Storm this season, they have had opportunities to score a lot of goals, but haven't really converted, I think, at the level they're going to need to. And on Saturday, again, they had the better of the chances, the better of the shots. In the end, defeated Beaver Dam by a score of 2-0. And watching that game, and I said to somebody afterwards, it felt like, in the third period, it was a much bigger margin, but you look up at the scoreboard, it's the third period, it's 2-0. All of a sudden you think, well, if you give up one, all of a sudden it could be a little bit more difficult. But Claire Kalmus was able to stop 17 shots in that game as the Storm improved to 13-3 on the season. And when you look at where they are, they're now number 2 in the state when it comes to the girls' rankings. And again, the Storm always play a very good schedule. Number 1 in girls' hockey right now is Superior. And Superior right now, they beat the Storm in Madison earlier. The Storm, a week from Saturday, head up north to Superior for potentially another 1-versus-2 matchup. And then you look ahead as well. The sectional the Storm are in is just massive. It is truly a massive section. You got the number 1 ranked team, Superior. You got the number 2 ranked team, the Central Wisconsin Storm, and then you got the number 5 ranked team, the Hayward Co-op Hurricanes, all in the same section. And it's, I tell you, that is rough because all 3 of those teams are more than capable of making it to the state tournament. And I just got a message from Coach Van Slyke. He was actually witness, as he's coming over here, witness to an accident, so he has to stick around and make a statement because he was not in the accident, but a witness to it. So he's hoping to make it here after he makes that statement a little bit later on in the program. So that's good news. Good news he was not involved in the accident, and hopefully he'll be able to make it over here before the end of the program and hopefully get a chance to talk about the DC Everest hockey team a little bit later on. So, again, that's good news indeed. Hopefully, again, we'll get a chance to talk to Coach Van Slyke a little bit later in the show. Coming up at 7 o'clock again, knock on wood, and I'm sure that she'll be here, Claire Kalmus from the Central Wisconsin Storm and the Wausau West softball team, our student-athlete guest. We're going to take a break and then come back, talk a little bit about girls high school basketball as we continue here on this Wednesday. Again, flying solo as Jeff Gress not with us tonight, but he'll be back next week. I'm Chad Holmes. It is the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
Wisconsin struggles at the border battle, while other Hoopers stand out on the hardwood. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute brought to you by NFHSNetwork.com. More high school sports news after this.
Do you ever wish you could be in 2 places at once? With homework, carpool, practice, and everything else, sometimes you just can't make it to every game. But the NFHS Network's streaming platform makes that a little easier. For just $11.99 a month, you can watch unlimited high school sports live and on demand, at home or on the go. You can watch online or on one of our mobile or connected TV apps. Visit NFHSNetwork.com and subscribe today to never miss another game.
The 17th annual Wisconsin versus Minnesota border battle was held in St. Louis Park, Minnesota on Saturday, but this edition of the event was one to forget for the Badger State. Teams from Minnesota won the first 7 games of the day, most in blowout fashion, with Homestead getting a victory for the good guys in the final game of the event. taking down host Benilde St. Margaret's 80-64 behind 39 points from senior Tim Franks. There were other players who put up impressive performances last week. Wauwatosa West junior Kai Rogers had 13 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 blocks in a 71-63 win over Sussex Hamilton on Wednesday. He followed it up with 25 points, 17 rebounds, and 6 assists as the Trojans downed Brookfield East on Friday. Thursday, it was another Greater Metro Conference hooper that made headlines as Brookfield Central senior Jack Doherty connected on 11 of 13 three-point attempts and finished with 44 points overall. In girls basketball, New Glarus senior Lindsay Shadowalt joined an exclusive club by securing her 2,000th career points last week, scoring 33 in a win over Cambridge. She celebrated with a career-high 43 points as the Glarner Knights beat Waterloo 82-31 on Saturday. Madison La Follette senior Elena West became the program's all-time leading scorer last week, passing the previous mark of 1,118 career points. This has been a WisSports.net Minute. Check us out online at WisSports.net.
For more than 60 years, Sun Printing has been Central Wisconsin's commercial printer of choice due to their commitment to quality, creative solutions, and dedicated service. Sun Printing's team offers you a wide spectrum of services, whether you need vehicle graphics, offset, digital, large format, graphic design, or mailing. They print everything under the sun. No project is too big or too small, so give Sun Printing a call at 845-4911 or visit them online at sunprinting.com.
Winter sports are here. Align your young athletes and yourself with health by scheduling an appointment with Dr. Sarah at Shine Chiropractic in Rib Mountain. Stay in the game with our comprehensive 3-point neurological exam, safe for the entire family. Don't let the daily grind keep you and your student athletes on the sidelines this year. Call Dr. Sarah at 715-298-5104. That's 715-298-5104 in Rib Mountain today.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Online at bullfallsradio.com. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes. Again, my normal co-host Jeff Gress not available tonight. So for the first time all year since we started our season back in mid-August, going it solo, but again, Jeff will be back next week. And again, hopefully later in the program now, we'll have a chance to talk to DC Everest coach Dan Van Slyke. Again, witnessed a little accident as he was heading on over, so he's going to take care of business at the site and then hopefully make it over here before the end of the program. And our student-athlete guest coming up at 7 o'clock will be Claire Kalmus from the Central Wisconsin Storm and the Wausau West softball team. That's coming up in just a few minutes. But let's talk about where we stand right now in high school girls basketball. Wisconsin Valley Conference, still a pair of undefeateds. You got the Marshfield Tigers at 7-0, and the Stevens Point Panthers are 6-0. Marshfield and Stevens Point both 11-6 overall. That's interesting. It says both those squads are doing very well when it comes to their conference games, but have been having some difficulties in the non-conference. You got Wisconsin Rapids and Wausau West tied for third at 4-3 in the conference. Rapids 5-12 overall. Again, that means that Rapids 4-3 in the conference, but just 1-8 in the non-conference. And you got Wausau West at 6-9 overall. Wausau East 2-6 in the conference, 6-11 overall. Merrill 1-5 in league, 7-8 overall. And DC Everest 0-7 in the Valley, 2-15 overall. And looking at some of the action from the past week, we got Marshfield again staying perfect in the conference, winning impressively in conference twice, but losing in non-conference. Last Friday, Marshfield defeated Merrill by a score of 64-44. Zeta Kolbeck had 17. Ashley Grantkrovitz 13 for the Tigers. Maya Ott scored 14 for Merrill in that game. Then on Monday, a non-conference game for Marshfield against a good Eau Claire Memorial squad, and Marshfield lost 50-30. But then last night, Marshfield did bounce back in the Valley, beating Rapids 59-27. Ashley Grankovitz had 21 points in that game. Meantime, Stevens Point had a good week, winning both their conference games and also earning a good non-conference win. Stevens Point on Friday rolled past Wausau East 72-43. Jada Seibert, 17 points to lead 4 Panthers in double figures. Claire Cushman had 16 points for Wausau East. Then on Saturday, in a makeup from a snowed-out game earlier, Stevens Point beat Wisconsin Rapids 63-32. Jada Seibert, 18, Ellie Strong and Lindsay Weiler, 15 each for Stevens Point. And then finally last night, Spash defeated Rhinelander in a non-conference game, 57-47. Jada Seibert, 24, Lindsay Weiler, 14 for Stevens Point. So Stevens Point, after a bit of a slow start under their new head coach, Janelle McCarville, has been red hot. And in fact, Stevens Point will be at Wausau West coming up on Friday. That's a game that we will have for you right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 7 and the opening tip at 7:15. Also, other action involving our area teams in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. Wausau East last night got a win at DC Everest, completing a season sweep of the Evergreens. East defeated Everest 58-43. And Wausau West mentioned that we have the Warriors Friday. I had them last night as well up in Merrill, and the Warriors defeated the Merrill Blue Jays by a score of 55-49. It was an interesting game. West came out early, took the lead, then a very quick 11-0 run for Merrill gave the Blue Jays the lead. The Warriors responded, had a 25-20 lead at halftime, quickly pushed it up to 17 points early in the second half before Merrill made a big comeback, pulled to within 4 in the final minutes, but West was able to hold on, win it by 6. Kelly Cray had 19 points. Paige Anderson, 14 for the Warriors. Maddie Ott and Sophie Wendorf each had 11 for the Blue Jays. Looking at the Great Northern Conference, Lakeland, the Lakeland Thunderbirds, again, really playing outstanding basketball. 7-0 in the conference, 14-2 overall. You got Rhinelander at 6-1 in the conference, 11-5 overall. Mosinee 4-2 in the conference, 11-4 overall. Medford and Northern Pines 3-4 in the conference. Medford 8-11. Pines 7-9. Antigo 1-6 in the conference, and Tomahawk down at the bottom at 0-7. Lakeland continues to roll. They beat Medford Friday 73-40. Christina Ouimet almost every night. It seems like she has 30-plus points. She had 32 in that game, dished out 11 assists as well. Ava Evenhouse had 20 points as well for Lakeland. Rhinelander beat Antigo 70-43. Northern Pines over Tomahawk 43-23. So, again, Lakeland, the team to beat in the conference. Rhinelander, again, that game last night against Stevens Point, down in point. Rhinelander played well. Spash pulled away late. So that Rhinelander team is also having a good season, and Mosinee as well with their 11-4 mark. So a good top 3 when it comes to the Great Northern Conference. Merrittwood Conference South, you got Assumption still undefeated. Assumption still ranked number 1 in the state in Division 5. Assumption 11-0. In the conference, 16-0 overall. Auburndale 8-3, 11-6. Then Stratford and Edgar at 6-5 in the conference. Stratford 9-9 overall. Edgar is 8-8. Then both Newman Catholic and Marathon, both 2-9 in the conference. Newman Catholic 3-13 overall. Marathon 5-12 overall. Auburndale had a bit of a tough week. They were 1 game back of Assumption going into the week. They lost a crossover to Phillips 78-50 Thursday, and then lost to Assumption 55-31 last night. So Assumption put themselves in quite a stranglehold right now atop that Merrittwood Conference South. Other action Friday night, lots of crossover games. Merrittwood South against Merrittwood North. And Phillips, they got a crossover win Thursday over Auburndale. They got a crossover win on Friday against Stratford, 73-53. Casey Egerbrecht, who scored 28 in the win against Auburndale, put up 32 points in that game against Stratford. Mattia Eckert had 21 in the win over Auburndale Thursday. She added 21 more in the victory over Stratford on Friday. So that Phillips team, very, very impressive. And we, for many years, did not see a lot of crossover wins for the Marywood North against the Marywood South. We're seeing more of those this year with teams like Athens and Phillips. Newman Catholic on Friday got a 63-13 win at Shawamigan. Mel Severson, 13 points. Ashley Jankowski, 12 for the Fighting Cards. Edgar got past Abbotsford Friday, 44-37. Michaela Workus, outstanding performer for Edgar, had 11 points. Sydney Faltazek had 13 for Abbotsford. And Assumption stayed perfect, 74-18 win over Prentice on Friday. And then finally on Monday, Athens from the Marywood North rolled past Marathon from the South, 68-35. Sophia Coker had 20 points. Giselle Hartwig, 18 for the Blue Jays. Assumption, as I mentioned earlier, had that big win over Auburndale Monday, 55-31. And the thing about that, that was a makeup game. The two teams meet again later this week. We'll talk more about that later in the program, but talk about tough scheduling for Auburndale, especially having to face Assumption twice back-to-back in the same week. And Stratford last night in a non-conference game beat Colby by a score of 62-37. The CWC East, and we were talking, me and Jeff, last week about this because there was a big game in the CWC East, Bonduel and Wittenberg-Burnhamwood. Before I go over the standings, we'll talk about that game that occurred last Thursday. The first meeting, Bonduel went into Wittenberg and really rolled past the Chargers. So Wittenberg needed to go over to Bonduel and beat the first place Bonduel Bears in order to get back into a tie for the conference lead. And early on, Wittenberg-Burnhamwood came out on all cylinders. Whitburn had a 12-point lead at halftime, 29-17. But Bonduel came roaring back, outscoring Whitburn 33-17 in the second half, and were able to pull out a 50-46 win. So a very tough loss for Whitburn, a huge win for Bonduel. Rory Salveson had 20 points for the Chargers. Malena Granquist had 16 as well. Haley Zernicke, big night for Bonduel, 16 points, 15 rebounds. So Bonduel, 9-0 in the conference, now have a little bit of a cushion. They're 16-2 overall. Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, second place at 6-2. Chargers, 13-2 overall. The only two losses, both coming to Bonduel. Amherst right there at 6-3 in the conference, 10-7 overall. Wyowega Fremont, 4-4 in the conference, 8-7 overall. Manawa 4-5 in league, 10-8 overall. Shiocton 3-6 in the conference, 5-12 overall. Menominee Indian 2-5, 5-10 overall. Iola Scandinavia in the cellar, winless, 0-9 and 0-17 overall. Wittenberg-Burnhamwood did bounce back last night, back in the conference, beating Shiocton 65-26. Rory Salveson, 18 points. Harper Rogowski, 17 for Whitburn. So, again, now for Whitburn, it's about winning, trying to get that best seat possible. Look forward to the playoffs. But, boy, they had an opportunity to try to get back into the first place race. But got to play two halves. First half was outstanding. Second half, great for Bonduel on Thursday night. And Amherst is a team that's going to be trying to chase down Whitburn. They beat Wyowega Fremont last night, 55-38. Bonduel over Menominee Indian, 67-37, and Manawa beat Iola Scandinavia 60-30. Looking ahead in terms of girls basketball, some of the matchups: Wisconsin Valley Conference, one game tomorrow. Wausau East is at Merrill. Blue Jays need a W. They've lost 4 games in a row. Saw them last night in their game against Wausau West. Still, I think this Merrill team has the ability to turn things around. Maya Ott had a rough night against West last night. She'll have to be back to her normal 20 points per game self. And Wausau East, again, coming off that win over DC Everest last night, will try to make it 2 in a row. Then on Friday, as I said, I'll be at the Field House at Wausau West for the Warrior girls against Stevens Point. 7 o'clock for the pregame, 7:15 for the opening tip, right here on Bull Falls Radio. Wausau West, over 500 in the conference for the first time this season, and Stevens Point cannot afford a stub toe because they're undefeated. Marshfield is undefeated, and those two teams will meet for the first time this season in a makeup of a postponement coming up on Monday. Marshfield at Stevens Point, Monday evening, massive game in the Wisconsin Valley Conference in girls basketball. First of 2, and obviously Stevens Point being the home team on Monday would like to get that W and not have to go into Marshfield after losing at home. So Again, big one on Monday night. Some other games of note. Lakeland at Wausau West on Monday. I'm looking forward to that one. I'll be at the field house again on Monday to see Christina Ouimet and that Lakeland squad that made it to the state tournament a year ago. Ouimet again, so consistently over 30 points per game. Looking forward to seeing that Thunderbird team in action against the Warriors Monday night. Again, 7 o'clock right here on Bull Falls Radio. And then on Tuesday night, Rapids at Merrill. First of two meetings between those teams, as there's still opportunities for a team like Merrill to move their way up in the WVC. Great Northern Conference. Mosinee will be back in action. Mosinee hasn't played in a little bit. They play host to Medford on Friday night. Always a great rivalry in that conference. Lakeland will look to stay perfect in the conference on Friday, hosting Antigo. Saturday, good non-conference game for Mosinee. Mosinee will host Neilsville Saturday afternoon if you're looking for a little high school sports activities on Saturday. And then on Monday, Pines comes to Mosinee. A GNC versus WVC matchup with Wausau East at Rhinelander on Monday. And then on Tuesday, Mosinee, another good non-conference game. They travel to Amherst on Tuesday night. So Mosinee really testing themselves as we get later into the regular season. And then Merriwood South girls. I mentioned the fact that earlier, just 2 nights ago, Auburndale and Assumption faced off in a battle of the first and second place teams in the Merriwood South. Well, they do it again tomorrow. Twice within 4 days, and you don't see that very often, but because of the rescheduling, you see Auburndale and Assumption, and obviously Auburndale losing by 24 points at home on Monday, have a steep hill to climb when they travel to Rapids to take on Assumption on Thursday. Other games Thursday, Marathon is at Newman Catholic. That game can be heard on the Sports 2 stream of bullfallsradio.com and the Civic Media app starting at 7, and that game will also air on a tape delay basis here on Bull Falls Radio following coverage of our hockey game between Wausau West and Stevens Point tomorrow night. If you haven't downloaded the Civic Media app, do so. Real easy. It's a free app. Just go to your App Store or Google Play, download it, and then you basically have 20 apps in one because you have every station on the Civic Media radio network. The fifth one down is Bull Falls Radio. Open it up, hit Sports Stream 2, and you'll be able to hear live Marathon at Newman and girls high school basketball coming up tomorrow night. Also coming up this week, you got some non-conference games. Not a lot of conference activity. So these teams, Friday, Edgar at Wabeno Leona, Spencer at Newman Catholic Monday, Edgar at Rochelle, Pittsville at Auburndale, Assumption at Aquinas. 2 powerhouse programs, and interesting game coming up Monday. Assumption makes the long trek to La Crosse to take on Aquinas on Monday. And Wittenberg-Burnhamwood has a busy go of it on the girls' side. They have games Thursday, Friday, Monday, and Tuesday. Whitburn Thursday at Wyowega Fremont, Friday at Iola Scandinavia, Monday home against Pines, and then Tuesday at Crandon. So that's a look at what's going on Central Wisconsin-wise in high school girls basketball. But we still have another hour to go here on the program. We'll have a little bit later on DC Everest hockey coach Dan Van Slyke. And then coming up next, our student-athlete guest for this week from the Central Wisconsin Storm and Wausau West softball. We'll be talking to Claire Kelmis. That's coming up next. I'm Chad Holmes. No Jeff Gress tonight. He'll be back next week. Right, again, solo this week. The Big High School Sports Show, Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Take your career to the next level with Graphic Packaging International. Work with a team to make Hot Pocket sleeves and the food trays you find at our local fair. Join the GPI team and experience the benefits of one of the highest paying manufacturers in the area, starting at almost $22.55 per hour. Enjoy job security, a clean facility, and an excellent benefits package, including a week of vacation after 4 months and 2 weeks after a year. Apply today at graphicpkg.com and elevate your career with Graphic Packaging.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active? Definitely. Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Wisconsin, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
If you're looking for your next ride, check out Mankey GMC in Schofield. Formerly Fred Miller Automotive, Mankey GMC serves Schofield, Wausau, Marshfield, and Stevens Point with a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Explore a range of top-notch SUVs like Acadia, Terrain, and Yukon, or choose from the rugged Sierra truck lineup, or even a certified pre-owned vehicle. No matter your dream vehicle awaits at Mankey GMC, 448 Grand Avenue in Schofield, and online at MankeyAuto.com. Mankey GMC in Schofield, where your journey begins.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
And welcome back. It is hour number 2 of the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230, online at bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. It is so odd here because normally we have 3 people around the table, and tonight's only 2 as for our interviews here. We'll have Dan Van Slyke for you folks. Again, I was talking about last hour. He'll be joining us in about 20 minutes or so. But our student athlete guest for tonight from the Central Wisconsin Storm and Wausau West High School softball, Claire Kalmus. And Claire, thank you for coming in.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
One reason I brought you on is because on Saturday, I saw you and your team play Beaver Dam at the Greenheck Fieldhouse. And then later on, I got home and I was on the social media, which we are all on too much, obviously. And I saw your mom put a posting on that you had a very busy Saturday. Could you maybe walk us through what your Saturday was like? Because one reason is that you're a multi-sport athlete. And nowadays, that doesn't mean there are demarcations. Sometimes you have to multitask. So what were you doing on Saturday? When did you wake up, and tell us about your day?
I got up at 4 a.m. and I'm fortunate enough to be able to play softball along with hockey. And we went to Wisconsin. We went to Wisconsin Badgers softball camp. It's always been my dream to be a Badger, just like every other girl. And we drove all the way to Madison. My mom got up, drove us, and I spent my first half of the day at Wisconsin, and then we got to really bust out of there real quick, and then we came back to Greenheck so we could play, and it was a great camp. Everything went so well. It was a great start of the day, and then on top of it, we played all great, and the game went really well, and we ended up with a win. So Saturday was a really great day.
I saw some pictures from the Badger softball complex. What does that camp entail? I mean, obviously it's an off-season camp. Is that an invitation thing from the Badgers, or what did you do down at that camp? What kind of skills were you working on, and in terms of your softball down in Madison?
Well, the first half of camps are usually hitting or defense. I was lucky enough to start out with defense, which is always my favorite. We get to work with the players, you get to go through their drills, and you learn what it's like to be a Badger, what they work on every single day, learning their coaching philosophy and what they really stress of how they want their players to play and what the big things they hit on. And just a big part of the camps are interacting with the girls, and you can really just see how much of a family they are.
So there were Badger softball players part of that camp.
Yeah, they were so thankful that they came, because it's a big part. That's what makes camps,
right?
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. We're going to talk more about the softball coming up a little bit later, but we're right in the midst of a hockey season. We're getting closer and closer to the start of the playoffs. Obviously, you get to the end part of January, and the thing about hockey is you start the playoffs at mid to almost early February, so we're getting towards the end of the season. 14 wins and 3 losses, if I'm not mistaken, for your Storm team, ranked number 2 in the state. I always preface that because rankings are for entertainment purposes only, because obviously it all comes down to what you do on the ice when you get to the playoffs. But obviously you got Jana Wimmer, the new head coach, had her talk to her a few weeks back. How's the season gone? Obviously it's been a little bit new. You probably have to adjust to new coaches and new philosophies. How has it gone so far for you and your teammates?
It's been really well. Our team has adapted great. We have a great group of freshmen that came in, and they are a big part of how we're playing. Our lines have changed a little bit, and they're forever changing. We do have a lot of injuries, so that's not exactly ideal. But, we're working through it. And Jan always says that, you got to show up to practice, put the hard work in. It's the time. We practice like you play. And she's been doing really great, and our team's been very successful. And I see success in our future, too.
You're the goaltender, and obviously the goaltender is right out there and big factors in it. When did you start playing goal? When I guess two-pronged. When did you start playing hockey? When did you start playing goal?
So before I played hockey, I actually wrestled. And my friend was like, hey, you should come to some open skate. And actually, BJ put me in goalie gear, so I started playing 5 years ago, and it all started at an open skate where I thought that the pads looked cool, and I used to catch for softball as well. And then there went my mom's bank account.
That's actually interesting, because I would have thought you'd actually played longer, because you've been playing varsity hockey now for your 3rd year, so obviously it must have came pretty naturally. I mean, in terms of how quickly was it like a duck to water playing goal?
It was. It's really closely related to catching and softball. So, tracking the puck, when the puck comes in, it's always the same thing. It's like hand to your glove. Skating was a little bit hard in the beginning. It's new, but as everyone does, they get used to it, and you really figure it out. I didn't really have like a goalie coach before, but I was more than grateful to at least have parents who were out there always trying to help me out. So just chipping in from a bunch of parents and my coaches when I was in U12 and U14, just trying to help me out through it, because they all knew I really loved it and I really wanted to try. So that's kind of how it all started.
We're talking to Claire Kalmus from Wausau West and the Central Wisconsin Storm here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. What would you say is your biggest strength as the goaltender? What do you do the best? What makes you, I guess, to throw you a softball, for no pun intended here, what is the biggest reason for what you've had some really good numbers as a varsity hockey player, not just this year, but for 3 years?
Well, usually you don't have a goalie who's exactly kind of like go get the puck. I really struggle with patience, but so far it's worked. Maybe not so far as, when we start facing the better teams and the players who have developed. But I would say probably my hand-eye coordination for the most part. That's definitely where my strong suit is. I'm not exactly the goalie that's going to have the best edges or the best movement, but I am that goalie who, when there's a puck, a 50-50 puck, and a girl's coming down a breakaway, I'm going to go and get it.
Was it? I saw some pictures earlier. Was it against St. Croix Valley, I believe, or you had a couple of incidents, contact? I mean, that's interesting, because those pictures look pretty violent. What happened in those situations?
Well, the one that I remember the most, it was one-on-one coming from the corner. and Tristan coming from the bench trying to help out our D, and the girl took a nice shot, and Tristan slid in front of her, and instead of stopping the puck, Tristan actually took me out with her.
Oh.
So I actually did like a full front flip. It was crazy.
Of all the players to do that, Tristan's probably the worst because she's 5'10". I think she's probably the tallest player on your team, and one of the biggest players, and obviously a great athlete. So that's probably the most dangerous situation for you to be in.
Yeah, it's at least it was Tristan. She was really just trying to help. So I just thought it was funny that it came down to, not usually in hockey of someone flipping around. You usually, just have someone up in the boards. But, yeah, there's been a lot of incidents where I've ended up outside of the net or on my back. It seems to happen more and more. I think we're at like 6 this season so far.
Oh, wow.
But it's all good.
You had a chance to play on a state championship team 2 years ago as a freshman. Sometimes when I think somebody as a freshman getting involved at a state level, I almost think it must be too young to be able to fully comprehend it or appreciate it. Were you able to, as a freshman, for your opportunity to go there? It was at the final year at the Alliant Energy Center, to be part of that state tournament and be part of that state championship. What did you take away from that experience?
When I first got out on the ice, we had our first practice. All the seniors are like, take a look around, take it in. Like, yeah, we're in state. Like, we can win state. And when I first stepped on the ice, I thought, holy, this is huge. I was like, there's going to be so many people here, and I can't let the puck in the net. And, like, so many thoughts went through my head. But then I just remember, like, it's hockey. Like, this is, like, my sport. Like, I can do it. I've been doing it, and if we got here, then we can finish as well. And I was so thankful for that opportunity, especially being a freshman getting to play the first game. Like, if you lose, you don't go. If you lose, you're done. And that was a lot of weight on my shoulders, but with the amazing team we had and the people around me, hockey just felt easy, and we just knew we could win state. And especially, like, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but in the game, it felt right.
That's interesting because it's such a different venue, especially when it was there. Did it feel different at all playing in an arena like that? Was it majorly different, or within yourself? When you pulled on the pads and the mask, was it just the same situation? Did you feel the same as maybe a sectional game or even a regular season game?
Mm-hmm. To me, honestly, every game's kind of the same. I mean, of course, not state is exactly the same, but when you take a look around, you're in a big place. But just like you said, when you put the mask on, like, it's just another game, and you know what you need to do, and I knew what I had to get done, and that's like the only goal in sight, and I knew that it was going to happen no matter what. I was going to make it happen. So it was a lot until the puck dropped. Then it was just another game.
But that's actually still a great skill to have, because I think, when you hear it, it's like, oh, sure. But I would say that in the championship game, the goaltender was a young goaltender that you were facing, and she had a bit of a tough game. I mean, I think there was an effect to it. So to be able for you to have that ability to basically calm yourself, to be able to, hey, this is another game. I got to do my job. So I do think that's actually a great skill to have, especially in pressure-packed situations. And obviously between your multiple sports, you do have these pressure-packed situations. And do you feel like you have that ability to get into the moment and not let the moment overwhelm you?
Yeah. I've been lucky enough that I am when I'm under pressure, you can count on me player. And I don't get scared in my head. I'm never like, well, what if this goes wrong? I've always got the positive outlook of, well, this is going to go right, and like, we're going to win this, and this can be done. And I definitely believe that is because of all of my sports. I'm not sure how it would be like if I was one of those people who, when you get on the ice, you're like, oh my goodness, like shaking, I love all my sports, and it just comes down to you play with your heart, and then the game's just the game.
When you look at the rest of the season, And obviously, I was talking earlier, you got the toughest sectional by far. I mean, it's just in some senses from the outside, it looks like it's not really fair because you got number 1 Superior, number 2 Storm, number 5 Hayward, obviously great programs. When you look at your team and you look at yourself and you look at everything involved, what has to happen in order for you and your teammates to be able to reach those ultimate goals? Because it's not going to be easy. And you've had great competition, so that gets you ready. You have great competition coming up, including another trek up way up north to Superior. What has to happen for the Storm to get back to where they like to be? And that's in Madison at the start of March.
I would say just every day still showing up to practice, working hard, having intent with what we do. So far, we need to focus more on playing simple hockey. I mean, beautiful hockey is probably the best thing. Those beautiful, like, backdoor one-timer plays, like, those are beautiful. But also, what wins games is simple hockey, you know. When you have the puck, it's passing when you can, not when you have to. You're taking what's given. When you have a shot down the slot, you know, you got to take that. Even though there might be a girl who might be backdoor, but a D's kind of split in between you. So I think it's just taking the game of hockey and making it simple again and just working hard.
Let's turn to softball because, I mean, you're obviously an outstanding softball player. Well, I guess the first question is, do you feel like softball is your path at the next level?
Yeah, definitely. I also have thought about maybe playing hockey and softball both because I do really love both, and it kind of tears me to pick one. When I was growing up, I always knew that softball, like, it was softball. Softball was my heart, and then hockey, just, it's like two different types of love, like two different types of compete. But softball will always be my home, and it will always be my love. So probably softball, but also if I had the opportunity, I'd love to play both.
You said you played some catcher, but now you're a shortstop. And I think both those positions are, you know, the middle of the diamond is said to be, you always have to be strong in the middle. Is there any comparison to being a shortstop to being a goalie at all?
I don't think so. I'm not going to lie. One's, you know, shortstop's always, you got to move. You're really directing on the field, which I guess that in the goal as well. Like, I'm a very directive goalie, and I think that does come from playing short. I like to be in charge and, like, take charge and, like, lead the team. So in both circumstances, I would say yes, but when the games kind of get put together, no.
What's your biggest strength on the diamond? What do you do best?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I would say that I'm extremely aggressive again. I'm extremely loud. I'm really loud. If you ever need to know where someone's got to go, like, I'll always be the cut. I'll always be the one with my hands up screaming. I am that person. But I'd say being able to move, like my lateral movement, you know, it's really hard when the puck, I mean, oh my goodness.
Hey, we're in the winter, so it's
I know. When the ball gets hit, like in between the gap, when you're on third and you're on short, who's got to get that? It's if the third baseman doesn't by chance like get her glove down, then that's you. You got to dive, you got to get the ball. When the pop fly is hit somehow perfectly right behind second base, and that's always the hardest one, who's got to get that? Well, it's you. You got to be there. You got to be quick. So it's always being on your feet. It's being ready for whatever may happen every play.
You still have some time. You're a junior, so you got some time. But as you look forward to potentially, you know, dreaming of playing for Badgers in Division I softball, Big Ten softball, where do you have to be better? What are the areas you have to improve on between now and when you get to the next level?
My current struggle's hitting. I kind of went through a little, I would say slump, but I don't know if that's the right word. I just got through and for kind of like a loop, and I've been working really hard on top of hockey, like going to CTI and working on hitting, you know, redoing like my hand path. So currently where I'm struggling to get to my goal is definitely my hitting. I've got the power, and you got videos everywhere. That's the great thing about today is You can see it on YouTube. You can see it on Instagram. Whatever you need to do, go online. I got the videos, and I'm working really hard just to retrain like myself in my swing and always staying really strong mentally. Yeah, you might strike out, but you know what? When you go on the field, you're gonna make a great play. You're gonna be the one that your pitcher can count on because she needs to get out of the inning. It's just separating those two, even when one's not kind of working out, and it's just staying strong as a player, especially not only for your teammates, but for yourself as well.
Again, we're talking to Claire Kalmus from Wausau West and the Central Wisconsin Storm here on Bull Falls Radio. What about the team? It's kind of interesting because with the Storm, it's got this long tradition of going to state tournaments and winning state championships. In that Wausau West with the softball, you're trying to build something, trying to take steps. And it has appeared that over the last couple of years, there are steps. You're getting closer to competing in the top half of the Wisconsin Valley Conference and becoming more of a factor at the top of the conference. How do you feel like going into this year? Where is Wausau West softball? And do you feel like your team has the capability of taking that next step?
Yeah, last year we were kind of in the middle of the pack, and I've got high hopes for this year. We have a bunch of not only great seniors, but juniors and the freshmen too. While maybe we did not always, West hasn't always had the best record of, when it comes down to it, we're usually the first one out in the sectionals, unfortunately. But with the hard work, right. I definitely think we can get it. When the girls show up, and there's already been open gyms and open lifts, when the girls show up, we can definitely get it done. We've come close to so many of the teams, and it's just like that 1 or 2 run difference, and there's potential. There's potential for the win.
After a long winter of being in arenas, I love going out and being in the sun. Do you feel the same way, that after, as much as you love doing the hockey, as much as you love everything involved in it, is there something special about getting back in under the sun and being outside in the spring?
Yeah, there really is. It's like, I don't know, like a new fresh start. There's a certain like feeling, just how kind of a hockey arena has like a smell. Yeah. Softball's just got a feeling, and it's just a new page.
Final question. Usually wait for a senior to ask the advice question, but I'm going to kind of do it in a different way because you've had a lot of sports experiences. What is the greatest lesson you've learned being involved in sports over these last whatever number of years it's been? That the greatest learning experience that you've had, maybe learning about yourself, maybe learning about the sport. But what have you learned being involved in sports at your still very young age?
Every day counts. When you show up to practice, while you might be tired, or maybe you didn't get a good grade on your test, or maybe you just didn't have a good day, that practice counts. Practice is somewhere where you should love what you do, and it's an escape. It should kind of solve all your problems. And being able to rely on sports to just give you that debrief is probably the most what I've learned, not only about myself, but about a lot of the people around me too. That they show up and they're maybe not as happy. When you get off the ice, everyone's laughing. Everyone's happy and smiling. So it's taking the practices, and yeah, it also, not only does it make you happy or might refresh you, but the hard work, knowing that you're going to build. And at the end of it, that hard work that you put in every single day, that's going to count for something.
Claire Kalmus, Wausau West, Central Wisconsin Storm. Congrats on all the success up to this point. Best of luck, both in the rest of the hockey season and then the softball season. And looking forward to seeing you more on the ice and then on the diamond this spring. But thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Claire Kalmus from the Storm and the Warriors. We're going to take a quick timeout and then come back and talk to our coach guest for this week from DCF, Stan Van Slyke. That's coming up here on the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
What's your idea of winter fun? If it's hitting the trails after a fresh snowfall and you're thinking new snowmobile, it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union, the leader in financing fun. If you're thinking new four-wheel drive vehicle to get you to the downhill slopes or the cross-country trails, it's time to call CCU. That's Clover Belt Credit Union, the leader in financing fun. Quick, easy loan applications, friendly lenders, and great rates make CCU the lending leader in financing fun. If your idea of winter fun isn't in the snow, maybe hitting the highway in a new motorhome is the way to go. Just give CCU a call. Financing for motorhomes and winter getaways. When you think fun, think Clover Belt Credit Union. What are you waiting for? Life's too short and winter's too long. Call CCU for your great rate financing. Dial 715-842-5693 or apply online or from your smartphone. That's Clover Belt Credit Union. Local lenders lending local money, keeping our community strong.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though.
What's going on?
He's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team. And ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Take your career to the next level with Graphic Packaging International. Work with a team to make Hot Pocket sleeves and the food trays you find at our local fair. Join the GPI team and experience the benefits of one of the highest paying manufacturers in the area, starting at almost $22.55 per hour. Enjoy job security, a clean facility, and an excellent benefits package, including a week of vacation after 4 months and 2 weeks after a year. Apply today at graphicpkg.com and elevate your career with Graphic Packaging.
Hungry for flavor-packed fun?
Dive into Red Robin's sizzling burgers, mouth-watering fries, and endless options.
Or maybe you're craving the perfect slice.
Then it's Donato's Pizza, your passport to pizza perfection.
Order now and treat yourself to an unforgettable taste experience.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza, 225548 Rib Mountain Drive in Wausau.
Call 715-301-0019 or log on redrobin.com.
Red Robin and Donato's Pizza.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. BullFallsRadio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes, joined now by the head hockey coach at DC Everest. And I tell you, it's never boring for you. It's a Wednesday. It should be a calm night between games, but you're driving over, you see a little bit of an accident, and being the good Samaritan you are, making a statement. Appreciate you still coming on over, Dan Van Slyke.
Thanks for having me, Chad. Appreciate it.
Well, let's talk about your season so far. And I was saying to you off the air that both last year and this year, boy, what a young hockey team. And in your mind, both, I guess we can put together the last couple of years. As a coach, how do you go about trying to build these young players in a very tough conference when you're facing, obviously a Stevens Point team that's always very good. West is usually good. Rapids is in a good spot, I think, as well. As you've looked at the last couple of years as a coach, what is the challenges of having such a young hockey team where you have these young players on the ice so much?
So much of it is teaching and making sure that guys know what the expectations are and making sure that we put them in situations that they can be successful and making sure that confidence is a huge part of a day-to-day basis because kids are going to go through their struggles and the highs and lows of a high school season, and making sure that we're doing everything that we can as a coaching staff to make sure that kids are in a good place when they come to the rink.
Looking at this season, you had a really tough December, and you've had a really good January. And with the young players, and I said this to you as well, when things get a little sideways, when you have a 6-game losing streak, when you have a really tough Marathon Cup where things can get sideways. But your team has been able to turn it around, win 5 of your last 6 games. What's been the key in terms of, number one, keeping them on that even keel? That's, hey, the world's not coming to an end if we're having little struggles. And also in terms of just being more successful in terms of W's and L's.
Yeah, so much of it is trying to control what we can control and showing up every day and giving our best and putting our best foot forward and see where it takes us. It has been that season of highs and lows, and again, so much learning and teaching from us as a coaching staff, and guys have to go through the highs and lows of their season in order for us to come out on the better end. And January has been good for us in terms of finding line combinations that work for us, riding a hot goaltender that's really, really playing well for us and keeping us in every game. And those things are proven successful for us in January.
Let's talk a little bit about that goaltender, Griffin Bonnell. He's just a sophomore. He's played a lot the last couple of years. And I don't know whether this is silly for me to say or jinx him in a way, but it reminds me back a number of years ago when Adam Prokop started as a freshman. He looked so small in the net as a freshman, and he started to grow and he's filled it up. And Griffin, I think even from last year, it looks like he's filling the net a little bit more. And also a young goaltender has faced a lot of rubber and being asked to keep you in a lot of these games. What has been the key for him? Have you seen strides from a year ago to this year? And obviously you have to be very fortunate to have somebody they can count on to when things maybe are tilted the wrong way to keep you in a hockey game.
Yeah, Griff continues to get better in our program. We have a tremendous goaltender coach that spends a lot of time with our 4 goaltenders, and really we see a ton of strides every single day. And for him, his compete level is through the roof. He wants to be successful. He wants to continue to grow and develop. He wants to be coached. He doesn't like when he's not playing on any given night, and that's a sign of a true competitor, and we're grateful to have him in our program.
Thomas Passano. He's also a kid that has been playing since he was a freshman. Still a young guy. Seems like he's been around a long time, but I've seen the progress as well. You saw, I think, some of the raw materials even as a freshman and then as a sophomore, and now the numbers are following. And I had a chance, I was watching your game on Saturday, and great finish late in one of the periods where, he comes in and just rips it past the goaltender. The difference between a kid that has those tools and then getting to the point where you're able to start to see the production is not as easy as it may sound, but he's been able to do that. Could you talk a little bit about his development and still only a junior?
Yeah, Thomas is a hardworking kid. Came in as a freshman, again, really raw. And if I remember right, he put up 30 points as a freshman. At that time, I think it was 15 that he had in the last 3 games of the regular season, right? So you saw glimpses of the potential that he had. I think by his account, he didn't have the most productive sophomore season. Really, again, worked hard and wears a captain on his jersey for us and leads by example, and is having a really nice season for us. I think he's got 27 points on the year for us with 4 games left. And the kid just has a knack for putting the puck in the back of the net. What he does is shoot the puck really well, finds his spots, and has been a really good offensive force for us this year.
Again, we're talking to Dan Van Slyke, the head hockey coach at DC Everest here on Bull Falls Radio. I think you said something there that I think is a key as well, is that you have to have the right guys around you to be successful. I mean, sometimes it's not as easy as saying, these are the 3 best players at center, left wing, right wing, and let's put them all together. It's a lot more than that. Do you feel as though you have guys around Thomas that bring out the best in him and bring out the best of these players as well?
Yeah, I think we do. I was talking earlier, the injury bug has hit us, and I lost one to a collarbone and one to a growth plate in his wrist and another to a concussion in the last couple weeks. And so I'm trying to juggle 6, 7, 8 guys in that lineup and trying to figure out what best fits us. And we're asking a ton out of these kids and a ton of ice time. Some guys getting 25, 30 minutes a game and don't get a ton of time on the bench, and they relish it right now. They enjoy running too and getting their legs underneath them. And I think we have guys that we can put around Thomas that get him the puck and get in good situations that he finds that scoring area and gets the biscuit in the net for us.
One of the kids that has stepped up the last couple of years is your son. And my co-host, he loves talking about this because he's got a kid he coaches at the youth levels in basketball. But to have your son, to be growing, seeing him grow as a hockey player, Cole, I imagine it's special. I mean, number one, you obviously love working with kids, number one, to be a coach at any level, at any sport. But then to have your own flesh and blood, what's that experience like?
It's a pretty special experience to coach your kid. I coach all three of my kids at 3 different levels, and each one is different, right? But Cole it's been a fun experience for me. I try to find the balance between the coach and the dad, and making sure I don't bring it home too much. You know, for me to get to spend 3 hours a night with him when for the previous 18 years before that, I maybe get an hour after school with him. And so it's pretty special to be able to coach your kid. And I think I take a lot out on him as well. And I think he knows how to handle my pressure on him as well as anybody can, having your dad as the head coach. But Cole's a hardworking kid. I enjoy watching him as much as coaching him, and it's a lot of joy to be able to coach your kid in high school sports.
We talked, I mentioned, I guess, that you're a very young hockey team. When you mentioned Thomas as a C, what about the leadership aspect? Maybe are there kids that maybe, when I got your numbers in front of me, that may be big factors, even beyond anything on a score sheet?
Our group is really good in the classroom as much as they are on the ice. Last year we won a sectional academic award in our state with a 3.76 GPA. So kids are getting it done in the classroom as much as they are in the rink. They work really hard in the weight room. They're good kids in the community. They hold down jobs. They're a special group of kids that make coming to the rink fun every day for us.
What is the state of the program? And that's beyond varsity. I always like to ask whether it's basketball or hockey about the state of the program. How is the program right now at DC Everest from the top working their way down?
Our numbers are a little bit low, and I think that a little bit has to do with we have a 3-person senior class, which makes that difficult. So our JV numbers are small. We have had to go down to playing 2 periods at the JV level quite a bit. And finding JV games isn't the easiest thing nowadays. Lots of varsity-only programs that we've been playing, a lot of small numbers. Our numbers will get better in the next couple of years. Our youth programs numbers are tremendous. We are co-oping at the Bantam level with Wausau right now, so I actually coach at Marathon Park quite a bit. So got accustomed to that. But numbers will get better the next couple of years, which will help us in the long term.
I want to ask some general hockey questions in the state of Wisconsin. We've seen change with 2 divisions recently. We've seen a change in the venue. Now it's Bob Suter's Cap Ice Arena, at least for the time being. Where do you think the state of hockey is, right? The state of Wisconsin and maybe even central Wisconsin, as we here in 2024 and we look to the future?
Yeah, it's hard to believe that we're still not continuing to grow the sport in terms of number of teams, and I think that has a lot to do with the ability to co-op and teams not being able to break off because of the numbers in certain programs. The 2-division format has proved beneficial for smaller schools to get that opportunity to play. I don't know if in 2018 if we would have been one of those teams that made it to state with. So in that season, 3 teams in our sectional made it to the state tournament that year. So it would have been a different draw for us, and it would have been really tough as our sectional alone is about as tough as it gets in the state right now.
Frankly, getting to a sectional in that bracket is almost the equivalent of making it a state in the past, really.
Absolutely. It's a juggernaut, and to try to survive and navigate through that sectional is really difficult.
Were you at the state tournament last year?
I was at the state tournament.
What did you think of the new venue?
I liked the intimate atmosphere in terms of limited seating or just a smaller venue. I think it proved beneficial in terms of the fan atmosphere. So I liked it from that regard. Having been a coach in 2018 at the state tournament, the Coliseum was just so large, and it didn't seem like a really good state tournament environment.
Going back to 2018, and obviously that's always one of the goals, to be one of those teams that makes it to a state tournament. What was that experience like for you? What did you find out in getting there, and how does that experience help you as you try to build a program that gets you back to state?
First off, amazing experience. First time in program history.
Which is hard to believe. I was watching Everest hockey in the 80s. I went to Everest. So I was going back to the Marathon Park days. I mean, and they had some good teams and that never got to state in all these decades. And for your team to get there that year was pretty amazing.
You saw the good hockey at DC Everest. I played in the late 90s, and same thing, getting on a bus to Marathon Park every day. We didn't have quite that success. So being able to come back and become the head coach here has been an amazing experience, and one that I truly appreciate. But that year was something special. Guys that just worked hard every single day, that played for one another, that just wanted the best for their teammates. It was just a great experience. In that whole ride that year of going through a 2-1 regional game, a double overtime win against Wausau West, and a double overtime game
remind me.
In the sectional final against Stevens Point is something that will be hard to top. Absolutely.
As you look to the rest of this season, obviously you got a little bit of momentum. You got Marshfield tomorrow night at Greenheck. Got a couple of tough games to wrap up the regular season. Do you like the fact you're playing Stevens Point and Wausau West at the end of the regular season to get you into the playoffs?
I think that's twofold. Playing Stevens Point is the day after the seeding meeting, so
right.
That game doesn't help us, and neither does Wausau West. That game against Wausau West at the beginning of the year, I'd love to have it back. I think Griffin is playing so much better than he was at the beginning of December. I think our team is just as a whole gelled together in terms of how hard we work, how well we move the puck. Things are coming together for us, and that'll be a really good test before we get into the playoff run.
Is offense still maybe the biggest question mark, the ability to get as many shots as you want to get on net and then put the pressure on the goaltender in order to take a little bit of pressure off Griffin?
Yeah, I mean, that's been our Achilles all year is putting pucks in the back of the net. I think we're averaging 3 right now and giving up 2.8, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's been our difficulty all year. I think we have 6 one-goal games or 2 goals in terms of empty net goals that have not gone our way. And we're asking a ton out of our defense, and they're getting the job done on a daily basis. Our offense has got to put their foot on the gas and get it done for us if we're going to be successful down the stretch.
Let me ask you about the conference as well, because you're you talk about those overtime games against Rapids, all of a sudden those go the other way. You're looking a little different. But this year, when you look at the conference, you got Stevens Point, who is undefeated overall, number 1 in the state. You got West, who's really good in the conference so far this season, had a few ups and downs outside it. Rapids, man, I mean, I saw them Monday. That's still a really good hockey team, and they won a lot of games. And then yourself is right there playing competitive hockey, even, 4-1 against Stevens Point the first time around. How do you look at the conference right now? Because to be honest with you, I've seen over the years where it has been, strong, a little deeper beyond West and Stevens Point. Right now, it does feel like I think your team is going to continue to get better as you go in the rest of this year and next year. Do you feel like that the conference has the ability to take a step? Because it has been a little top-heavy for a number of years, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we have that opportunity. Obviously, Spash is in a league of their own. I was able to watch them on Live Barn on the way home from Toma last night and watch their game against Nina Menasha. And West and Rapids are right there. I got to watch that game on Monday on Live Barn as well. It's amazing what technology does nowadays to be able to watch anybody at any given day.
I hate it because I want people to listen to the radio.
I did have you on in the background, though,
that's
Chad.
what I like to hear.
It's so much better than any other program that we get. In Rapids' program has obviously taken a step in their senior class is tremendous. Marshfield has a couple of kids that can play, and they're going to be dangerous tomorrow night when we get them at home for the second time. And so I think as a whole, the Valley has gotten better, absolutely.
And finally, you bring up Rapids, Coach McDonald, 30 years? How many years have you been now the head man at Everest?
This is my 20th year overall and 12th as the head coach.
I mean, that's important, isn't it, to have stability? And West has had stability. BJ coming from Pete's staff and been there now close to a decade. Stability is vitally important for programs, isn't it, at the high school level, no matter what sport?
Yeah, change isn't always easy, both for kids, for families, for coaching staffs. We've had the same coaching staff for since 2019, so that ability to relate to those coaches and build a foundation is equally as important. Prior to that, I was with the same assistant coach for 6 years before that. So just having that base and that group of guys that come to the rink every day that are supporting kids, that are trying to teach the game the right way is so important for success in high school athletics.
Dan Van Slyke, head hockey coach of DC Everest, thank you for battling your way here. Congrats on a good January. Best of luck against Marshfield tomorrow. And again, really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Coach Dan Van Slyke of the Evergreens. We'll take a break, come back. One more segment to go. Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230.
Wisconsin struggles at the border battle, while other Hoopers stand out on the hardwood. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute brought to you by NFHSNetwork.com. More high school sports news after this.
Do you ever wish you could be in two places at once? With homework, carpool, practice, and everything else, sometimes you just can't make it to every game. But the NFHS Network's streaming platform makes that a little easier. For just $11.99 a month, you can watch unlimited high school sports live and on demand, at home or on the go. You can watch online or on one of our mobile or connected TV apps. Visit NFHSNetwork.com and subscribe today to never miss another game.
The 17th annual Wisconsin versus Minnesota Boater Battle was held in St. Louis Park, Minnesota on Saturday, but this edition of the event was one to forget for the Badger State. Teams from Minnesota won the first 7 games of the day, most in blowout fashion, with Homestead getting a victory for the good guys in the final game of the event, taking down host Benilde St. Margaret's 80-64 behind 39 points from senior Tim Franks. There were other players who put up impressive performances last week. Wauwatosa West junior Kai Rogers had 13 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 blocks in a 71-63 win over Sussex Hamilton on Wednesday. He followed it up with 25 points, 17 rebounds, and 6 assists as the Trojans downed Brookfield East on Friday. Thursday, it was another Greater Metro Conference Hooper that made headlines as Brookfield Central senior Jack Doherty connected on 11 of 13 three-point attempts and finished with 44 points overall. In girls basketball, New Glarus senior Lindsay Shadowalt joined an exclusive club by securing her 2,000th career points last week, scoring 33 in a win over Cambridge. She celebrated with a career-high 43 points as the Glarner Knights beat Waterloo 82-31 on Saturday. Madison La Follette senior Elena West became the program's all-time leading scorer last week, passing the previous mark of 1,118 career points. This has been a WisSports.net Minute. Check us out online at WisSports.net.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
Big High School Sports Show, Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 to 1230, bullfallsradio.com, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO. I have not introduced, I said I'm flying solo. I'm not flying solo. I got behind the glass guy that's with me in the morning for my show. If you like hearing my voice, join me weekday mornings, 8 till 10 a.m., talking about different things than maybe we do on this program, but on my Chad Holmes show. But on the other side of the glass, Ian Welsh. Ian, again, I appreciate you. Again, you come in early, you come in here late. I appreciate you being here, even if Jeff Gress isn't.
Always happy to help.
Do you follow high school sports at all, or are you just too busy?
No, I don't follow.
Which is
I
okay.
don't follow sports as closely as you do.
Yeah, but I
as
do.
closely as my dad does also.
I know. You always tell that about your dad. That's very cool. But always do appreciate you being here. So thanks again.
Yeah.
And he also takes the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, we take the pictures, put them on our social media, and enjoy it as well. Thanks again to our guests, both Claire Kalbus from the Central Wisconsin Storm and Wausau West Softball, and Dan Van Slyke of the DC Everest Evergreens for joining us. And again, as we look ahead now, we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs. We have, and also getting closer and closer to the seeding meetings. And these final couple of weeks for all the sports, especially the hockey folks, these games getting bigger and bigger. And I said it earlier, that game on Monday between Wausau West and Wisconsin Rapids was vitally important for Wausau West, because not only it keeps them in the mix for a Wisconsin Valley Conference championship, also the significance of the seeding and so many of the non-conference games that are played by teams like Wausau West and Stevens Point. In fact, you look at Stevens Point, and Coach Van Slyke, we were talking, and he saw, Stevens Point play Neenah Hortonville Menasha last night, and 1-0 game, and that's a significant game. Not as significant as some, because that is not within the sectional. But you look at, they got Eau Claire Memorial Saturday. Eau Claire Memorial, part of this sectional. And if you're not familiar with some of these sectionals, both in basketball and hockey, now that we have, in the past, number of years ago in basketball, and just the last few years in hockey, there used to be in Division I 8 teams going to the state tournament. And things have changed. Now there are just 4 teams that go to a state in all the divisions in basketball and hockey. So now you have in hockey, you got teams like Stevens Point, Wausau West, DC Everest, from our area, Wisconsin Rapids. You have teams from the big rivers like State Powers, Hudson. Hudson, in fact, beat Eau Claire Memorial last night in overtime in a huge game in the big rivers. You got Eau Claire Memorial, who's been in the top 5 in the rankings all season long. This year, a little down is Eau Claire North, but Chippewa Falls, also a team that's in the rankings. All these teams are in the same sectional bracket. It makes these non-conference games not just non-conference games when you face off against these squads. They have huge significance when it comes to ultimately what the seedings are going to be. And when you have these brackets that have 12 and 13 and 14 teams in basketball, you have 15 and 16 and even 17 teams. It shows how difficult it is right now, especially at the Division I level, to make it to the state tournament. It really is very, very difficult. And as Coach Van Slyke said, his team made it to the state tournament 6 years ago, 2018. But then there were 8 teams that made it to state. Now there are 4 teams from Division I that make it to state. And it makes it so hard. And as I said to the coach, that if you make it to a sectional in that bracket, it's an accomplishment. Because, I obviously follow Wausau West very closely, covering the Warriors here on Bull Falls Radio. Last couple of years, I think 3 years, in fact, have not made it out of the regional. And part of it is because you're seeing games in a regional final that you used to see in a sectional final. So it's becoming much, much more difficult to be able to get through these gauntlets. And I didn't ask specifically Coach Van Slyke for his opinion, but maybe I shouldn't say whether or not he would agree with me or not, but I do hope at a certain point in the near future in high school hockey in Wisconsin that we go to an 8 and a 4, because I do think we need to see some of these great teams make it to state. You want to put on the best show down at the state tournament. So when you have, even from the big rivers, you have Hudson, you have Chippewa Falls, you have Eau Claire Memorial, from the Valley, Wausau West, Stevens Point, to perennially are teams that are capable of making state. Back in the 8-team state tournaments, you'd see multiple teams make it to state. You see these games how many years did we see back? A number of years ago, we saw back-to-back Wausau West and Eau Claire Memorial at the state tournament. Overtime games in the state semifinals. Nowadays, you're not going to see that because both teams are in the same sectionals, and they've been in the same sectionals since we went to the four-team format. And not to say that some of the smaller schools don't deserve the opportunity to make it to state, to have the opportunity for, like last year for Mosinee, was such a great experience. But let's make it, because right now you have roughly 50-plus teams in the Division I bracket, and you have 32 teams in the Division II bracket. Both Division I and Division II have 4 teams that make it. It's not really fair. So even if you went to a 6-4, there's been talk of 6-4 when it came to hockey, where you have 6 teams from Division I. Then the percentages are much more equal. So again, I think that the WIAA and the Wisconsin Hockey Coaches Association have done some good things in recent years. I think getting out of the Alliant Energy Center was the best thing. And there's some excitement because there's going to be some new venues that perhaps are even better for the state tournament than Bob Suter's Capitol Ice Arena. There's going to be a new ice sheet put up in Ashwaubenon at Cornerstone that will be bigger than Bob Suter's. There's talk right here in Wausau. Boy, hopefully, knock on wood, that the new arena gets done here in central Wisconsin. Now with the Wausau Cyclones doing so well, with our high schools that are so, I think, very important to the area as well, that there would be a great use for a new hockey arena here in central Wisconsin. And then the potential, if that arena is big enough to host state tournaments, whether it's hockey or other sports as well. The excitement and the possibility of that coming in the future as well. So, again, I think there's a lot that's going to be happening in terms of Wisconsin hockey over the next couple of years, and it'll be very interesting to see where ultimately the state tournament ends up and whether or not we do see an expansion in terms of Division I to 6 teams or even 8 teams. And I think that in basketball, both boys and girls basketball, we have lost something since we went away from 8 Division I teams. I always found my favorite nights of the state tournament in basketball were Thursday evenings, Thursday late afternoon evenings, where you had the Division I quarterfinals. Great basketball, high-level basketball. And again, nothing against the smaller schools, but I do think we're missing something when you don't have the 8 teams and representatives of different areas of the state at state. Thank you, Ian, for cutting off my microphone. As still fighting a bit of a cold, but you get me passionate about some of these issues in high school sports because I love high school sports. I don't do this. I don't get anything extra for doing this show every week. Not to say that matters, but I just love being able to come here for 2 hours every Wednesday night, talk high school sports, and be able to share some of the stories of the coaches and the student athletes, and be able to delve a little deeper into what's happening during the winter, during the high school basketball and hockey seasons. Taking a look ahead, and also very proud that Bull Falls Radio is the only Wausau radio station that still provides play-by-play coverage of high school sports. And tomorrow night, we have 2 games. I'll be at the Marathon Park Ice Arena. Should be a great environment. Wausau West against Stevens Point. Huge one in the Wisconsin Valley Conference. We will have coverage beginning with the pregame at 6:50 and the opening face-off at 7 o'clock. Right here on Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 and 1230. Live on the Sports 2 stream of the Civic Media app and bullfallsradio.com. High school girls basketball as Marathon takes on Newman Catholic. 7 o'clock on the Sports 2 stream, and then on tape delay after hockey here on Bull Falls Radio. On Friday night, high school girls hoops, Wausau West hosting Stevens Point. Pregame show at 7 o'clock. Saturday, high school boys basketball, Newman Catholic at Merrill, 6:20 for the pregame, 6:30 for the tip. Then on Monday, high school girls basketball, Lakeland at Wausau West, 7 o'clock for the pregame show. And the next Tuesday night, high school boys basketball with Marathon at Newman Catholic starting at 7 o'clock. So again, another busy week coming up. Then next Wednesday night, Jeff Gress will be back. We'll have another coach guest. We'll have another student-athlete guest. And we will get closer and closer to the start of the playoffs. Thanks again to our guests tonight from the Central Wisconsin Storm and Wausau West, Claire Kalmus, and from the DC Everest hockey team, their head coach, Dan Van Slyke. For Ian Welsh, I'm Chad Holmes. Have yourselves a great rest of your Wednesday. And again, thanks for joining us for the Big High School Sports Show on Bull Falls Radio 98.9 and 1230.
WXCO 1230 AM, W255DN Wausau, streaming at bullfallsradio.com.